Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss productivity tactics that work for neurodiverse individuals.
Every episode, we interview guests with lived experience of neurodiversity who also have a solid productivity and habit game, and pass the learnings on to you, our wise and benevolent audience.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Joey.
I'm Joey, and I coach creatives to get moving on their most ambitious projects through the power of solid habits and strong focus. I'm also a perpetual student of psychology and perpetually on a quest to a one-armed chin-up.
And I'm Jeremy. I'm a neurodiverse software developer turned startup founder building habit and focus software for people with ADHD. My cool party trick is leaving parties early so I get to sleep on time to do my 3-hour-long morning routine. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by FocusBear, a habit and productivity app that makes healthy habits and deep work the path of least resistance. If you have a tendency to check emails or scroll through Instagram first thing in the morning, but long to develop a meditation and exercise habit first thing, FocusBear can help you. The app blocks distractions on all your devices and guides you through your habits one at a time. Throughout the day, FocusBear assists you to stay in deep work by blocking websites and apps that are unrelated to your chosen focus mode. Life's not all about work though. You'll be prompted to take regular breaks to rest your eyes and stretch your muscles. At the end of the day, FocusBear helps you switch off. Work-related apps get hidden so you can unwind and sleep well. Check out the app by going to focusbear.io. Welcome to episode number 27 of the Focus and Chill podcast. We're thrilled to be joined by Ben Tobin today. Ben is an ADHD and career coach who spent 20 years working in tech and now uses his experience of working with ADHD as both an employee and a leader to help others succeed in their own lives and careers. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Likewise. To start off with, keen to hear about your experience with, we're going to call it neurodiversity, and you're going to tell us a bit more about some other ways of expressing that in terms of how can we express neurodiversity in a more inclusive way, and tell us about your own experience with that.
Yeah. So the terms neurodiverse and neurotypical, there's a little bit of political baggage attached to those, and kind of attached to some of the places where that was coined. And sometimes what I see with terms like those is sometimes people can use them in othering, basically distancing themselves from people who aren't like them, or to group people together. And sometimes I think that can be a little bit harmful. It's just something that I've tried to avoid when possible. Usually the way I talk about it is simply to refer to people as being people with ADHD, or sometimes people with brains like mine. And the other way I often put that is for instead of neurotypical, I'll just say like everyone else.
How about in terms of, I guess, neurodivergent might also include autism and dyslexia, dyscalculia, other terms like that, or other diagnoses like that? Do you have an umbrella term that might be kinder?
I don't, not exactly, but I might refer them similarly to the way that you did, or refer to people whose brains work a little differently, or things like that. Or if we're having a conversation about something more specific, maybe I'll be more specific and talk about the issues at hand rather than labeling the people.
Yeah, got it. Makes sense. Have you seen it evolve both for yourself and as a society in terms of how people with brains that are a bit different are treated, and what it's been like in the workplace in particular?
It's certainly changing. And it's hard to say, there's kind of pressures in good and bad directions. One thing that I can absolutely credit to the neurodiversity movement is it did create a label around which companies often are starting to consider how they can be more inclusive, or just a better place for people whose brains don't work the way most people's do. And so there are some benefits to that, and don't want to make anyone think that I think it's an entirely negative movement or term or concept. But at the same time, I see conversations and people referring to each other as NTs or NDs, which I think that can be harmful from both sides. It creates a wall, and I've seen improvement, but as people are talking about it more, that necessarily means that some of those conversations are not helpful. And as more people become aware of these issues, these challenges, and learn more about what it actually means to have a brain that works a little bit differently, for some people, it's incredibly helpful because they realize, oh, there are people who are like me, or no wonder I struggle with this thing that everyone else seems to be able to do well. I think a lot of people are finding self-identity and realizing what's going on for themselves, and at the same time, others are realizing what that means for people who have these challenges and realize, oh, they don't just need to work harder or just pay attention or just read the room, like all these phrases that people have had thrown at them through their lives. Realize it's not that simple. And it doesn't need to be. We can work around some of that stuff as long as people are on the same page. It doesn't have to be a huge limiter or to freeze people out of situations.
Yeah, I love that. And anytime someone says you just need to do blah, 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 I think that's when it's become an oversimplification and it's ignoring some of the challenges that might be there. How about in terms of the perspective of brains that work differently, could you talk to the strengths as well that people whose brains work differently might bring to the workplace?
Yeah. And one obvious one is just a different perspective. Brains that work differently are going to have a different way of looking at things. They're going to notice things differently in different orders, prioritize things differently. They're going to have different ideas. Not everything is different, obviously, but we're still more alike than we are different. But it's going to bring fresh perspectives, and of course, there are things that some individuals with ADHD or autism or other issues, some of those people have some incredibly strong abilities and skills in certain areas, whether that is closely tied to the issues they face or not. Sometimes they can be very surprising. Sometimes the ability for an ADHD person to go incredibly deep on something for a period of time. Same with autism. It can sometimes be surprising to people who don't experience those issues. Not to say that everyone experiences ADHD or autism the same way, but sometimes we have particular strengths that either are associated with our differences, or sometimes we have strengths that we built up simply as a coping mechanism to deal with what didn't come naturally to us. For example, people tell me that I come across as extremely calm and I'm good in a crisis, and I'm good at keeping people from freaking out. And it doesn't feel like that internally. The ADHD energy is still there, and there's that comparison to the duck on a placid pond, gliding smoothly with frenetic activity under the surface. These things. Sometimes we, just as individuals, find ways to cope even before we're ever diagnosed, simply because we have to get by, and we get sometimes very good at something very narrow.
And speaking of frenetic paces, Ben, let's talk about work. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, so as a coach, my kind of main thing is that I work individually, one-on-one with people to help them identify goals and then figure out strategies to achieve those goals. And that can be goals in the sense of career goals. That's a lot of the people I work with, but sometimes it's life goals. It's wanting to do the things that we want to do. That can really show up anywhere in life. And I'm also in the early stages of putting together some group coaching with a focus on ADHD, so that people can simultaneously get coaching and also build a community with other ADHD people who get them, who trade ideas, and also keep each other accountable to the things that they're working on.
Love it. And in terms of life goals, what do you do apart from work? How do you wind down and switch off?
So I like video games. Video games with a lot of exploration and open world are just like candy to me. I had to take a week off work when the new Breath of the Wild came out. I just had to. But I also do a lot of cycling. I'm a long distance cyclist. In fact, I discovered my calling to become a coach when I went on a 21-day bicycle ride with my dad down the West Coast.
Oh, that's so cool. So you were bike touring with a tent and going out and just exploring nature.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I've done a bit of that as well and found it really fulfilling. You get to see the world in a way that you wouldn't normally if you're flying or if you're on a train or driving.
Yeah, completely different. We stayed every night in state parks and with designated areas for non-motorized people, and which means that we got all of the very best camping sites.
Wonderful.
So Ben, we talked about your winding down. Can we talk about the other side of the day? What does your morning routine look like, and how's that evolved over time?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I do in the morning is I warm up the espresso machine. I've always been a caffeine hound since well before I was diagnosed, and I do love good coffee. And from there, I take some time to take a look at what I'm planning to do for the day. I use bullet journaling, which has been really helpful to me. And I think the most helpful part is not the bullet journal itself, but the practice of twice daily reflection to maintain it. And so it's a good time for me to prompt myself to look at what's in store for the day.
Love it. And throughout the day, how do you keep your productivity high? You've got your plan in your bullet journal. How do you stick to that plan?
Well, I am a bit of a slave to my schedule. I have to be because I have so many appointments during the day to work, to meet with clients. So I can't be late. I'm proud to say that I've only been substantially late to one appointment.
That's impressive.
I was there. Yeah, I was there. I just lost track of time. I didn't hear the ding when they joined, and I was right there. It was embarrassing.
But I do that all the time. Forget to put my headphones in and someone's talking to me.
But beyond that, I balance that with a lot of flexibility. I just recognize that sometimes the thing that I plan to work on is not in the cards at that moment. But I try to be really intentional with that decision. I try to make it a decision, not just a bad habit. So I have a choice of moving it or doing it. There's no third option. There's no blow it off and lose it entirely. None of this works perfectly. And that's where, the second daily bullet journal reflection time is an opportunity for me to kind of sweep up and say, okay, well, what maybe fell through the cracks. But I found that, keeping a balance and allowing myself some leeway keeps me from burning out so that I can be intentional about actually doing what I do need to do.
Love it. And often breaks are one of the key components to optimizing productivity. So we're going to take a quick break.
Hello there, this is Joey. I'm excited to tell you about a project I run where I help imaginative people just like you breathe life into their creative dreams, like writing that book or performing that stand-up comedy set. I know the first step can be daunting. I have been there many times and have helped many people on a similar journey. If you've wondered how to bring those ideas swimming around in your head to life, get in touch. We'll shrink the intimidating dragon of a goal into a cute little lizard of an achievable daily habit that you can do every day to get started and stay moving. Click on the link in the show description to get in touch.
Okay, we're back. And for people who'd be keen to connect with you, Ben, where's the best place to find you online?
That'd be my website, bentobin.com.
Do you have any final words or final asks for the audience?
Well, one thing kind of building on the productivity thing and the planning and the scheduling that I didn't really touch on is not just giving myself flexibility and in the moment, but also planning it. For example, I almost never book 2 appointments right back to back. It's just impractical. I need transition time. I think it's okay to plan ahead and say, I need this time to either recover from something or switch gears, or even after a vacation, I'll book some time and say, and devote that to getting back on the wagon with the various habits that fell off when I was on vacation, because I know it's going to happen. And that's just one small part of a larger theme of kind of self-understanding and compassion, and recognizing that we're not going to be perfect. So building that into our lives so that we can let that imperfection not run away with itself and cause bigger problems than it needs to.
Thanks, Ben. And we'll wrap the show with that.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.